Yo, what's up guys? My name is GLOCO and welcome back to More the Letter. We're now in part 22. Finally! God, it's been 2 weeks since I uploaded the last part. So just a refresher guys, during the last part we had our encounter with the... Well, not really the ghost bitch, but ghost Kylie in the bathroom. But you know what, we snapped out of it and we're now here, safe and sound in the hallway and talking with Luke. Well, about to talk with Luke. But hey, here we go. So, however, all of those good vibes disappear into thin air when I run headfirst into Luke. Okay, so it's a bad thing for Rebecca. Alright. There's really something in this man. Regardless of how much my opinion of him has changed over the span of a few hours, he simply blasts through every good impression people have of him without care or thought. He doesn't even need to open his mouth. His mere presence does it. In all honesty, I think he's the kind of guy only a mother can love.
You're still here?
Oh, way to put it into words, Becca.
Obviously. Who do you think standing in front of you?
See what I mean?
An ass.
Oh, come on, Daisy. You've done better than that. Losing your touch?
Luke, I don't have time for this. I'm heading home, and your face is the last thing I want to see before I leave. What do you want?
Belatedly, I noticed his hand, partly raised, almost poised for a knock. At a slight lift of an eyebrow, he quickly drops it to his side and turns to Kylie. Alright. She's standing a few steps away from him, holding her hands behind her back and toeing at something on the floor with the tip of her shoe. Then he proceeds to make a vague gesture, vague gestures at me and the child. He resembles a fish flopping for air with the way he's moving his arms, though I think he's trying to urge her to speak up.
Munchkin, I thought you wanted to tell her something.
You do it, Teal.
What did you want me to tell you? Can you tell me something about that friend of yours in the bathroom we encountered the other time?
This wasn't my idea, darling.
Don't worry. I won't tell Tia what you told me the other day. And this morning.
Well, Luke exhales, rolling his eyes at the ceiling and maybe praying for the universe to grant him more patience. He knows a losing battle when he sees one. He may act worse than a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum at times, but he's no match for an actual child. Nothing better than being served a dose of his own medicine, huh? Once his frustration has been promptly let out, he points a rude finger at me. I do my best to stare the offending digit down, but I can already hear the demand before it's even out of his lips.
You, come with us.
This was like... That's what he was... That was what he was doing. You better come with us.
What makes you think I will?
Yeah.
Because little Rugrat here is upset and worried, and it's your bloody fault. I've no idea what happened this morning, but if you don't come with us, I won't be hearing the end of it from her. So do me a favor, Daisy, and just be glad I'm inviting you.
Where
You
are
are
we
asking
going
for a
exactly?
favor, and you can't be bothered to be polite?
Exactly.
I don't know. It's been a really busy day for me. I kind of miss my couch.
Daisy, you just say yes.
A pause follows, almost too dramatic. Afterwards, his face twists into something between a grimace and a smile. As it happens, he appears like he's in a lot of physical pain. You'd think the man is getting an aneurysm by simply being polite.
Please?
Tia said it'll be his treat.
What? I said no such thing, Munchkin.
Well, it might as well be.
I only
okay?
agreed to this because you requested it. I'm under no obligation to feed her.
Shouldn't be any problem with it for a gazillionaire like you.
I promise I'll be quiet the next time I visit.
Nice negotiations there, Kylie.
Oh, all right, but just one meal and make it the cheapest.
What the? He and Ashton will get along famously on that department. On a different front, the offer of free dinner does sound enticing, however half-heartedly given it is. Mostly because Kylie has wisely put on her puppy eyes, and by the second, I find all my choices slipping away from me.
See, Miss Pink? It'll be fun. You don't have to feel sad anymore, okay?
Oh, well,
My mobile buzzes from my pocket, cutting me mid-sentence, and for a second I'm spared from the act of giving an answer I'll regret either way. Fishing the gadget out, I wave a hand at him and excuse myself. A disgruntled expression is on Luke's face before I turn away. I'd be lying if I say it didn't amuse me. He's as eager to be done with this as I am, but what can I do? Checking a message from Ashton shows up. Hi Becca, I'll be around Salemwell this evening. Need to meet someone in the area. I might have to drop by yours and Isabella's place after. See ya. Nice. Just the usual. Unlike what he does to Zachary, Ashton has the decency to let us know when he's dropping by or if he's in the area for some business. From the way it's phrased, it sounds to be the latter. Either way, I'm glad he's at least aware of that boundary. Not that Isabella's ever going to let him leave the building unscathed, even if he ever pulls, the same stunt he does with the other man. I cringe to imagine what she'll do to him. Sighing, I slip the gadget back to my pocket. But looking up to see Luke's utter impatience on his face, I now face a different dilemma. The two of them are still waiting, and knowing the kind of person Luke is, this is already a grand gesture of goodwill coming from him. All to please his godchild. His denials aside, it's easy to tell he's really fond of Kylie from his actions alone. I kinda hate to ruin that.
Well, Daisy, we're waiting here.
On the other hand, there's Ash. His message doesn't exactly imply he's going to wait or he's expecting me to be there, but there are matters I hope to discuss with him in person, to put it simply. Housewarming party matters. With inviting Isabella out of the question, I only have Zachary and Ashton. Although the former has already made it clear he'll be busy this week, and, well, Ashton has been my first choice from the start. Even if he detests attending gatherings like this. It's company that counts, we can be miserable together. But that's the problem, isn't it? He hates them. And it's very likely his answer will be a flat no. I'd rather not hear that. If by some miracle he agrees to it, he'll probably be sulking the whole party. Not really a tough choice when you put it like that. Still, tough choice, but I have to pick one. Oh god, do we go with fucking Luke or do we go with Ashton? Hey, you know what? It reminds me, we do have a relationship bar here, and our relationship with Luke can change. Right now, I don't really want anything to do with Luke. Okay, if I go with Luke right now, we could get more tight with him, and we already know what kind of person Luke is. But we really haven't had too many interactions with Ashton yet, so we could give him a chance, right? We're going with Ashton. So yeah, we've spent a lot of time together already, Luke. Okay, and Kylie, it's been 3 episodes already where we've hanged out with each other. So I guess it's time for us to give Ashton a bit of the limelight. Right, boys? Here we go. I'm sorry, I have other things to do. So, when you look at it closely, it isn't such a difficult decision to make. First and foremost, no matter where I look at this, it is inappropriate to some degree. Disregarding Luke's honest intentions, I've only known the man for a grand total of 2 days, including today. If I'm going to be thoroughly specific, I'll give it a grand total of around 10 hours. By all means, that's not enough reason for me to join them for dinner, even if he says Kylie's the one who requested it. Yeah, it's not like I'm her mother or anything. To other people, it won't appear as innocent as he makes it out to be, and if there's one ugly thing about this city, it's this place's penchant for inane gossip. Yep, one little spark, it'll spread like wildfire. Like, imagine this, guys. Luke, the gazillionaire, married to Hannah Wright, spending dinner with a child and a high school teacher. I don't know. Sounds like a good scoop to me. Who knows how far it will go, how many ears it will reach. What if Ashton hears about it? I'd rather not think about the consequences to that. I've got enough on my plate lately as it is, being at the center of rumor mill along with his man. This man, in whatever form it takes, sends unpleasant chills down my spine. See? Did a good choice. My answer must have already shown in my face as Kylie's smile immediately dissolves into a pout.
You're not gonna join us, are you?
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, Kylie. I'd love to, but I have other things to do. Another time, maybe? A friend just texted me about something urgent, and he wants to meet tonight.
Yes.
Just say it's a date, Daisy. The little rugrat will understand. She's not an infant. No need for blatant lies.
Oh, shut the hell up, Luke. Heat instantly crawls up my face at his baseless insinuations. Oh, what I would give for another chance to put a real dent on his skull.
What even gave you that idea?
You fucking tsundere.
And even if it is, why do you care? Stop sticking your nose in other people's affairs.
Oh, your face says it all, woman. You think I won't recognize those longing looks?
There isn't a look, you There isn't a look, all right?
Look at Luke's face.
Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night, Daisy.
You already have a story written inside that head of yours, don't you?
Well, why are you so bothered, Rebecca?
Oh, please. It's not that interesting. The color of your face does suit you, though. Matches the hair. Well, come on now, Munchkin. I'll just buy you an extra glass of that parfait.
With extra strawberries?
I'll get you a basket full if you want. As long as you behave. And no complaints if they don't have enough syrup again. Deal?
Deal. Have fun with your date, Miss Pink.
Luke's already leading the child away before I can correct her. Upon reaching the end of the hall, however, he doesn't miss the chance to shoot me another one of those infuriating winks. Does he really think women enjoy those? I'd sue him for harassment if I can. Though I must admit, the two of them walking together hand in hand is an endearing sight in itself. He says he dislikes the idea of having children of his own, but it's easy to see some part of him genuinely wants them. What's stopping him? It's something to mull over, along with every other confusing and frustrating thing about this guy. Some other time, though. Ashton's waiting. Alright, there you go. His car's headlights have been left turned on, illuminating the otherwise empty parking lot. If it's like that, this is probably going to be a quick visit. Although, our landlady will probably have a few hundred words to say about this before letting it go. Not many in this complex own a vehicle, anyway, to warrant the space's frequent use, owing to this area's proximity to downtown Luxburn. No one's going to be disturbed if one car stays parked with its light on for a few minutes. Right now, though, it serves as a pleasant company while I idle inside my own car, thumbling the invitation's fine print, flipping it over and over until the motions become familiar enough. So, what should I say? How should I say it? Like, there's a very high chance he'll say no, but on the off chance he accepts, what should I do? Fears, doubts, questions I haven't asked before, and more often than not, the anxiety is because of him. 17 years ago, I've been in the same position, a different letter in hand. Somehow, nothing has changed. Perhaps if he'd noticed how I felt about him years ago, I wouldn't be in this predicament. Honestly, he managed to ace all those exams at school without even lifting a finger. And he couldn't figure this out.
How dense can he get?
But I can't very well wait for another 2 decades just for something as measly as an invitation, can I? It's not like it's going to be a date, you know? Although, frankly, I wouldn't mind if it is. However, that's a wish best reserved for some other time. I won't get anywhere if I just keep thinking about the what-ifs. Gathering all my thoughts and courage, I step out of my car and gingerly make my way upstairs, invitation in hand. Ever since the incident 3 days ago, there's a strange air permeating the atmosphere here. Weighted, but the sort that slowly trickles through you until the burden of it finally bogs you down with some kind of disquiet. The days since have been uneasy, and Isabella's absence from her flat does not help settle it. Every day, coming home somewhat feels like an uphill battle in itself, leaving you spent when you're supposed to be getting some rest. Is Zachary experiencing the same thing? Because I certainly am. And the same weary slump is also on Ashton's shoulders, once you catch a glimpse of him. He's leaning casually on the rails, his back against its metal surface, while reading through a bunch of papers. Each one appears more important than the other, despite me having never read a letter of it. Forensic report, huh? Must be about a dead body or something, obviously. Okay, he'll probably head back to the precinct after this, if he's not going to drop by Zachary's for a bit of a shut-eye. No rest for the wicked. But no matter how occupied he seems, he pauses anyway and looks up from his work the moment he hears my treads. He raises a hand in greeting as a small smile spreads across his lips. Exhausted as I am, I can't help but return it to him.
What brought you here?
He hums something inaudible, neither an answer nor even a vague hint, before he turns his attention back to the papers. For a passing second, I thought he'd ignore or evade the question, like every single time I've asked. But then, he shuffles the documents back to a binder and sets it aside with a huff, and it sounds, more fatigued than I've ever heard from him recently. Either there's simply too many things to keeping him busy at once, or his investigation isn't going too well. Maybe even both.
Just work.
Just work? Do you expect me to believe that?
In a way. I didn't think an important contact ditched me and now I'm stuck would make for a cool alibi. Did it work?
As if there's going to be any difference. Anyway, do you want to come in?
Did I just skip that? I am so sorry.
But if you're going to hang around for a bit, you better turn those headlights off. My landlady's one hairline away from banning you off this place, Stop taking the piss out of her. She's a nice woman.
When she stops taking the piss out of Shirley, maybe I will.
Who the hell is Shirley?
You and your bloody car.
Oh yeah, the car, I forgot. The first time I've heard of that name, I did a double take. From the way he put it, it was as if he was talking about some woman he met somewhere, surprisingly got along with and grown fond of. Never mind how impossible that is, knowing his lack of interest for people outside our small circle. Honestly, it sent a surge of panic in me. It lasted for days, until he proudly introduced me to his new car. His car!
Hey, it's a nice name. Don't laugh at it. You'll hurt her feelings. I'm gonna have to give that offer a pass, though.
Nothing unexpected, but admittedly, I'm hoping he'll stay for a few minutes. Suddenly, it's asking him to accompany me to some housewarming party is starting to turn into a bad idea. If he can't even be bothered to spare a second of his time to his friends, what more if he has to stand some hours in a room full of strangers?
I need to get going. I just dropped in to check on something and...
His words trail off, cut mid-sentence on purpose, leaving it for me to comprehend the rest of it. At the same time, his eyes shift momentarily towards the door closest to us. Isabella's unit. Eerily quiet now in her absence. The instant his lips curve into a small frown and his shoulders tense, I know work is far from his reasons for being here. Being all too aware of that idea alone summons another dull ache straight into my chest. Like every time, every single moment, he affords her the attention he can never seem to spare others. While it is a worry better left for a different situation, it twinges the heart nevertheless.
Is there a problem?
Nothing of note. Abigail just wanted to ask her a few things. It's related to that incident with Cooper. You heard the one.
Yeah.
Hold on. She isn't in trouble, is she?
No, I don't think so. Not as far as I know. And do you really think Scaredy Cat can do anything like that? It's just an off-the-record thing, okay? Abigail wanted to confirm something. She knows I'm friends with someone working at BRC, so she asked me. Apparently she isn't getting anything from that company, as long as the red tape's in the way. It's nothing urgent, though. She isn't answering her phone again, so I thought I'd check myself. I can wait until she gets home.
If she comes home soon. The last time I saw her was 2 nights ago.
His demeanor immediately changes. Despite his careful attempt to appear nonchalant, his eyes scream of an unspoken worry. It's almost painful to see how much he tries to hide it, especially in front of someone he has known for years.
What? Did she take a vacation or something?
No word from her, unfortunately. And I don't think she'll go on a trip without telling us. It's been 2 days. 3 if she's not going to show up tomorrow either. Do you think we might have to file a missing person report?
Oh, come on. Are you sure about saying that, Rebecca?
I hope not.
Are they just joking?
But let me know if anything happens. You know how to contact me. I'll see you later, Becca.
But seriously, you guys have to worry about Isabella. Ashton squeezes my shoulder, light as he can, before stepping away and heading straight for the stairs. His way of offering comfort in the middle of this little mess we found ourselves in. Sorry, that I read that wrong. But amidst of all this, a tiny voice at the back of my mind nudges at a memory. Something I've forgotten, and the very reason why I've chosen to return home early. He's made it 4 steps down when realization kicks in and awareness of the envelope I've been holding returns to me. Panic rears before proper words can form or I can think about the situation. Not a second sooner, I'm calling after him.
Ashton, wait!
He halts, 1 foot already down another step, when he turns to me, raising an eyebrow in question.
Yeah?
And of all times, it is in this moment when I falter. The adrenaline from earlier's panic suddenly recedes. All of a sudden, none of the things I've prepared to say will take form, and I'm caught between simply forgetting about this or just blurting it out to him while hoping for the best. Should I even... Oh god, we have to tell him. We have to tell him about something, okay? It will help with the investigation and stuff. It could help Isabella. Okay, we won't gain anything from just keeping it, alright? So, we gotta do it. Okay, gotta do it. Tomorrow afternoon, do you have time? There's nothing wrong with trying, I suppose. I'm not going to lose anything if he says no exactly. Which, frankly, has a very high chance of happening than the opposite. Though, the thought still doesn't prevent heat from crawling up my face and send my heart racing. It's better to get this over with before my throat closes up and I lose my nerve.
Tomorrow afternoon? Do you have time?
A small frown is already on his face. I already see where this is going and what he's thinking from that alone. Yet, for some mullish reason, I continue, hanging on to that tiny glimmer of hope he'll say yes, if I present an argument good enough for him.
That depends. Why?
Well, you see, someone sent an invite for a housewarming party, and I thought you might want to...
Oh, wait, I thought we were gonna talk about Isabella and the plan to, like, investigate and stuff. Oh, okay. And here, oh god, alright, I misread everything, Jesus. Was I not paying attention or did I just miss the point and stuff? I thought you already mentioned to Ashton about the housewarming party and that's why Ashton said, I'm sorry, I can't, man, I have to do some stuff and, you know. I don't know, I'm so confused right now, but anyway, let's proceed then.
Rebecca, I'd rather stand on the messy end of a gunshot. You know that.
I know, it's just... You're one of the few people I can count on with things like this.
That's cool, I appreciate the thought. But really, Zach's a better companion. Gatherings like that just aren't my cup of tea.
It did cross my mind, you know. If he isn't busy with his freelance work, I'd probably ask him too.
Ashton, you dense mother ever.
Actually, you two would have been spared if Isabella was here, but...
Why not just skip out on it? The world's not going to end if one guest doesn't show up.
Trust me, I'd love to. But I promised Mom I'll be there.
Still can't say no, huh?
Like you're any better. Besides, the person who sent this is an old friend of Mom and Dad. If it's important to them, why not? Though, who would have thought, huh? The famous Evans heir used to be tutored by my parents. Apparently, we also met before.
Wait, who?
Now you know. He's investigating the rights, so...
Evans. Hannah Evans. Well, she's already married. She goes by Hannah Wright now. Remember the couple who bought the mansion Isabella's selling?
The same people?
Let's see.
As far as I know. Unless I misread their address, or there's another Hannah Wright in this city that we don't know about.
Let me see that.
Without waiting, he walks closer and takes the invitation off my hands, gently but with the same force of urgency in his voice. I don't know what he finds in it, but his eyebrows draw together as his eyes scan through the little lines of text printed on a small piece of paper. His hold on the envelope tightens with each pass, and by the time he has finished reading, his mouth has formed into a thin line.
You never mentioned this.
Well, did you ask?
We met just once. Or at least, that's what Mum told me. Honestly, I can't recall anything from it. Otherwise, I would have told you about it.
He hums something inaudible under his breath, all while thumbing the paper, staring at it as if doing so will proffer him answers to every unspoken question in his head. When he gleans nothing from it, he merely folds the envelope back to its fold.
All right, I'll go with you.
Typical Ash. You know, he's coming because of work-related stuff.
What?
I'll go with you.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a problem, right? Unless you've already made up your mind about asking Z-Man.
No, I told you already the guy's busy. Why would I bother him for this when I can go alone? But what about your own work and...
I can make time for this. 3 o'clock, yeah? I'll pick you up an hour or so before.
My head reels, less from what this implies, more from how easy all this seems for him. How fast this turnaround is. Poor Becca. You know, you invite a guy to have some fun. At first, he'll decline it because it's too much of a bother for him. But then, let's say for example, oh, but this guy is coming. Oh, our friend, this girl is coming and stuff. And then suddenly he changes his mind because of those persons coming to the party and stuff like that. It's the same kind of feeling, you know. That sucks. Do you guys get me? Anyway, God, here we go. He's already halfway down the stairs when any semblance of sense returns to me, and I can finally string 2 words of protest together. Yet, all of it dies on my tongue at the small smile he shoots me. He disappears from view seconds later, his footsteps gradually fading as he descends the stairwell, until all I can hear are my own shallow breaths and heartbeat, loud, pounding hard against my chest. It is only after I'm standing alone in my room minutes later that it sinks in. He has taken the invitation with him, but besides that, more than that, he has also accepted mine. Calling this happiness is a complete understatement. For now, looming thoughts of the mansion and the woman lay silent at the back of my head. Guess she's just happy. She's just grateful Ash is coming. She doesn't care about the other details. But hey, whatever floats your boat, Becca. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strained sort of stillness unlike the ones greeting me every morning. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. And as expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of 2 squabbling adults echoing from a floor below. You guys hear that? It's like the fucking rats are screwing each other in on my roof. Anyway, the quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
Wait, who the hell is this?
I wasn't.
Oh, it's Ashton and Isabella.
Ow! Could you let go?
What's happening? What's happening, boys? Not a few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood as she attempts to pry his hands off with her other one, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. Neither of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that, at least. However, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice when she... I'm so sorry. When she answers Ashton's temper with her own. Whew! Oh, I'm allergic to arguments, guys. So on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
You have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason.
For those wondering what red tape is, it's a process of like making procedures longer. Okay, like for example, if I wanted to buy food online, usually I just order, tap it, and with just 3 clicks I can order it. But with red tape all over, for some reason they put red tape on the procedures. Those 3 clicks will turn into like 50 clicks or something like that. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of, it's like CAPTCHA. Okay, when you watch anime online, there's a CAPTCHA there, and then just imagine like 10 CAPTCHAs before you manage to watch the anime episode you wanted to watch. So, is that clear, guys? All right, we're good.
We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will.
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
Oh, really? You thought of it as something funny, Ash?
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
Oh, really? Oh, how dare you, Isabella? I am standing right here.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Here comes the mom. Both of their heads snap up almost in unison. A displeased frown is on each of their faces. But this is unnecessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak open their doors, if only slightly. If they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen first thing on a Friday morning, even if this is hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
So, what did happen to those other BRC agents? Are they dead?
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
Who are dead? That last bit strikes a chord, prods strongly at a memory. At that vicious smile already etched deep inside of my mind. The image appears clear enough that at the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The ghost bitch.
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse.
The only reason why you guys are still alive because I made good freaking choices. Bitch.
There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time.
Well, there's no time, man.
And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
I wasn't chasing after. Okay, they forgot to.
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Shut the fuck up, Ash. Let me hear my baby Isabella talk. Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it has always been, besides having a very good point. Really, they're the very same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been seeing, sensing these past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is at the heat of this. But however I respond to the question in their faces, only one of them will be pleased with it. I think you guys know what I'm gonna pick. Of course, we're gonna side with our baby Isabella, because we've seen it. Like, we are not lying to ourselves. We shall trust what we've seen, what we've smelled. What the hell? Let's go. I might have seen her. Haha! Ashton, in particular, won't be too happy to hear it. And I don't freaking care. Imagining the look in his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows. Shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining a sharp edge. He's already bracing himself from the disappointment. And it will be a disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'll be saying this either.
I might have seen her.
There you go. So proud of you, Becca.
The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Yes. Look at these faces. Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head, and for a few moments, Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads at its heels after a silence thick enough one can almost hear a pin drop.
You're kidding, right?
No.
Do I look like I'm joking?
Exactly.
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Well, I'm not joking, Ash.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter. Last night, you mentioned Zach hasn't been acting like himself. Maybe you should ask him, too.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
Or maybe you're just a stuck-up little bitch.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Isabella's voice cuts sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
She feels guilty now that we have symptoms of the letter. She breathes in, deep, steadying, and in that moment, something falls behind her eyes as she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her that night from 3 days ago. But this time, it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight when she looks at him straight in the eyes, gaze unflinching. Gradually, his grip on her wrist loosens.
Belle, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us. A hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his. Gentle, pleading, almost intimate, if one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit it even to himself. But it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eye softens and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender. Yeah.
Did you really have to tell her that?
Yes.
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
What, Ash?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave when my own instinct instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by voices whispering at the back of my mind. He's already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all of this will take us? How all of this will end? You shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust, granted implicitly and never spoken. Sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs, and a promise to, at least, listen to her, without the teasing or the jibes. A favor for me and the least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him, as well until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully, where this all started, will provide the answers I'm looking for. There you go, we're back in the frickin' mansion, boys. Yeah. So all this time, for the past days, since they saw the letter, Ashton hasn't been seeing anything? Is that it? Or maybe he's just brushing it off like something else. We'll never know. Actually, we will know during our playthrough of him. But anyway, we're back in the mansion. So, except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars, worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined, line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. "Ah, Mama Hannah!" Presumably Miss Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. Now, here's the thing, guys. Remember Luke? Rebecca doesn't really know that Luke is the owner of that mansion. She doesn't even know that Luke is married to Hannah. She doesn't know that Hannah is the wife of Luke. So it's gonna get interesting once they meet. Alright, here we go. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxport.
Welcome everyone!
And Mom said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guests she has. Though, I admit, she does seem familiar now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her unraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home!
I wish I can share her enthusiasm. Really. But being surrounded by all of this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. Although, also knowing there might be some truth to what lies inside the place helps drive the unease farther by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand...
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
For someone who abhors gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air too like a bicycle. What the fudge? As he watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. Their handling car's worth more than your precious, surely.
She has a point. My disdain has likely shown beyond the tone of my voice, quite possibly in the form of a grimace. Oh wow, okay, alright, they laugh as well. He chuckles, a rare moment where mirth and amusement dances across his features. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, I can't help but join him instead. There's something in the lightness of it, in how easy this kind of interaction falls into place, when we don't let feelings get too involved, in spite of being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. However, the moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
An odd expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd, his gaze darting between people walking past us until a small frown forms in his face.
Oh wait, Ash! What about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. Ha! Back to work as usual for him. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. It's, just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already heading inside. With a sigh and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and follow after him.
So much for date.
Poor Becca. Kawaii-san. Even with the familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. Oh yeah, this is the part where we met, Hannah for the first time. I mean, Rebecca. They talk, and then, a scandalous bitch comes in, drunk, and gives off some, makes a scandal. The party hits full swing an hour later, with the host opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband. The poor woman and the guest promptly fed, the band shift the melody to a livelier tune. Soon laughter and the rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit. Fascinating at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making the music their own, almost with no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations anyway, plenty of them in fact, with some asking more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all it will take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride and my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that, as much as I hate to admit it. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention, or a single glance at me the whole evening. Well, hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's busy covering the event to boot, but at least he manages to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, in another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago he's wolfing down some defiled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he only agreed to come with me for another reason.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Oh yeah, this is the part. Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gob shit wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of the profanities I've mumbled or she's taken notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during the one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like, little Becky throughout the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections, after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
Takes me a while to realize who she's talking about, until Ashton walks by again in closer proximity than any of the times he has done so far this evening. Still, without a look of acknowledgement our way, though. Even if Miss Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone with earshot.
Who,
Within
Ash?
earshot.
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
Oh, we're back here in this scene. This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My coworkers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those, he's been quite indifferent about it in fact. Still, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks, a denial ready, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
Foreshadowing, man. It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I've mentioned who my parents are, her face quickly lights up and fondness graces her face, despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we really can't avoid talking about. After all, it's one of the few things I remember her asking me, the moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children, where there are loads we could have started
Yes,
with.
oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock. And that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen, he's a detective for heaven's sake, but feelings, more often than not, escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is, married to a man she most probably loves at that, while I'm still stuck in the same place yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that, but for a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even sorted these things out for myself.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Though, to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Hannah is fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right?
Oh.
You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Take note, boys and girls, take note. Hypocrisy, that's what this is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what what I've been doing? What? Really? You're doing it? What? And then, I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it until the time comes I can confess it to him. Great if he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, then selfish. I've been too selfish.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past weeks has also seen, changes in the way I view things. As nice as things sound, it turns out whatever I previously know may not even be true for other people. Or for myself. Well, on the topic of love, guys, love is all, for love to be very successful, it has to be, a mutual agreement of both parties, in a way. You can't just go at it one-sidedly. It's just gonna hurt, guys. What am I talking about this? We shouldn't be talking about it. We'll talk about that in another time, guys. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before now has doubts muddying each of them. But there will be time to mull about this later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Here comes Luke! Especially when fucking Luke strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous mien he always carries around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with a part of the city. Oh, fucking course. I should have known! Although I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and the gossip columns have never been really my thing. I should have also expected that whatever Luke freaking right is, some sort of drama will sure follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it. Figures it will find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. Oh yeah, here it is, that part. It happens amid a round of applause and hoots that people lagging behind the crowd they've gathered does not catch on until the cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
We've been through
Lies and slander, woman!
Oh yeah, the voice acting.
Security! Johannes, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief's inspector's wife too. Whoa! As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I am more worried about Hannah. Maybe Luke too. In part, I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hannah? Well, as refined and well-mannered she is in front of their guests, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over it. Yet, when I glance at her, there's only defeat. A wary slump on her shoulders, and a certain depth to her breathing. Like the fight has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since when this has been going on, and I don't know either of them too well to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection with both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite? It's all too easy to see it in her, as she quietly watches the commotion carry on around her. In a moment, before I can think it through, I'm pulling her to the side and waving Zachary over to us.
Becca! This is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hannah. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, this air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hannah. Her standing in society compels her to keep appearances, the be nice to everyone sort of thing. While Zachary's growing client base sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Although, from the way it appears, this one seems to go beyond maintaining a facade or work. I wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd asked, but we're starting to attract some curious eyes. Most of them are probably searching for more gossip, something to add fuel to the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain it to Zachary. He's aware of the situation all too well.
So, this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hannah out of here?
That'd be great.
Soon he's leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Anyone who dares speak or approach on our way out, I shut down with a sharp glare. Nice. In a few steps, we're out, away from the commotion and the suffocating tension. I don't stay long with them though. Even if I want to, Ashton's still somewhere in that crowd. I've got to go back for him, at least. No matter how much the idea of that alone sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
They actually went out to the garden and danced along or something. I remember that during Zach's chapter.
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
Besides, it seems Zachary can handle this without another person helping out. In fact, for some reason, I've got this strange impression I might be intruding on something if I elect to remain. Better to entrust this with someone she's comfortable with. And though it might be a little inappropriate considering what hasn't transpired, a smile worms its way to my lips as I leave. Good on them, I suppose. Chatter has exploded throughout the whole ballroom once I return. Worried murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow, it will be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Luxburg. No wonder Luke's knee-deep into damage control. With the scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention on the media covering the event. Though, so far, he isn't faring well in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
Good thing Zachary isn't here. I can't imagine a man of his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Luke's diatribe goes on for another few minutes, after which he excuses himself out of the area. There's a brief lull, a reluctant pause before the place comes astir again, but shortly the buzz returns. Dancers have once again taken to the floor, and their guests' excited talk begins anew. But I couldn't care less about any of this now. Simply standing in the middle of it already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, you just feel bone-tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashton's disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything, or knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that?
It didn't have to lie to me.
It's the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end this disastrous night as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet. Because no sooner as the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke Wright. No sign of Hannah or Zachary. Just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he treads around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure. He appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly in that 1 second in the hallway at school. It's a strange matter. However, to witness this out in the open, behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders and he whirls around to face me, there's a second long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxborn if I could.
He probably pawns everything off to their servants and Hannah. Pompous little douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
Oh yeah, this is the part where Hannah told Luke that, Dearie, I think we need a break from all this. You know, just some time alone. Something like that. Oh god, my throat is so dry.
You are a very unpleasant man.
You tell him, Rebecca.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course. But right this instant, there's only one that comes to mind. Hey, you know what? I think the best thing I could tell him is you should be with your wife. There you go. I don't want to dwell more into the gossip and stuff like that. That's just being a douche right now, you know? Luke's a douche. Doesn't mean we have to be a douche to him as well. Actually, we should be a douche to him, but you know, that's not me, okay? And yeah, it should be good if you just tell him that you should be with your wife. Right, guys? Let's go.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this mess.
True.
Again with the lecture.
Let me lecture you!
Will you stop calling it that?
Exactly.
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart?
Call it an advice.
Please don't. I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
I think you should.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern.
Another friendly way of saying lecture.
Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly, he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end, he simply stuffs them back to his pockets and sulks. Ha! See, you're taken aback from the sincerity of Becca's voice. There's probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with, after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, none has any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the munter if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended, but don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
Oh, well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Oh, I do.
Before I've even thought about what to say, I've known there can only be two ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. His marital problems first and foremost, his attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not by standing around here bantering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
You think this is fun? I just love Luke's voice acting. Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. So, achievement unlocked. Too long did not read. Stop sulking. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh, the what? Oh, yes. Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Like the first time I've stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCulloch, and that shadow. No, a woman now. Her, no longer a dark blur. Terror rushes every vein in my body, a crippling sensation gripping every part of me, while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something, a warning, but before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me, as if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear, and disquiet leaves whenever I see her is familiar enough for me. Already, it has made a home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seeps through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of a coherent coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
Exactly. I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read
Becca, where'd you go off to? If we're done here, let's go.
Is that Ash? My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles up at the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him. If he's shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that, maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amid this thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Haha! Take that, Shirley, you little bitch. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps, I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him. But whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this.
Just say it, Jesus
I'm aware
Christ.
your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you should
so...
stay away from these people for now. Especially the husband.
Why?
Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name, but whatever opinion he has he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
He's bad news.
Like, how bad news? So care to explain? It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? Care to explain your reasons?
Care to explain your reasons?
I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly in nights like this. What, Ash? What now? What now, Ash? It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and hands closing in tightly into a fist at his sides. Then, swiftly, he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answers he continues to give? Does it include all those times before this? The years worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand. Furious as I am, it's frankly a wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow, and you better have a proper answer for me by then.
Yeah! There's a brief hesitation before I step away. A short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained at a distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. If the door slams closed with the same force as the anger I'm holding, its sound merely vanishes into the night, unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet, even with city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. Whew! Wow. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach St. Lemuel. Wow. We've been recording for almost, an hour and a half. Hey, wow, alright. So, looks like we're having more moments with Ashton. Not really good moments, but still, moments are still moments. Important for the plot and for character development. Right, guys? So, anyway, I'm not sure. At this point, still not sure what Ash knows. Or if Ash has experienced any of what we've experienced with the ghost bitch. But he's still reluctant to disclose anything that he knows. Isabella, on the other hand, is doing her own thing. Don't know what the hell she's up to. Becca, on the other hand, still trying to piece together some stuff. And actually, she's still far from knowing anything or coming close to, solving anything. She's actually not solving anything at this point. Zach, on the other hand, I'm not sure. I forgot what his motives are now, but he's getting along with Hannah. Hannah, on the other hand, at this point, he broke off with Luke, or is about to break off. I'm not really sure. I forgot as well what happened to Hannah. Mrs. McCulloch, well, she's in a dungeon. I don't know. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much what the characters are doing right now at this point. So we'll find out more about them in the next episode. Alright, guys. But anyway, I want to thank you guys, all of you guys, for continuing to support this series. I appreciate every single one of you guys who are still watching this. And also, it makes me happy that a really famous YouTuber, Cinnamon Toast Ken, is also following this, this game. So at least this game is now getting the attention it deserves, It's really underrated. So for you guys who want to play this game, please do. Please download it from Steam, buy it, give the devs the support they deserve. Alright? So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Look forward for the next episode real soon. I hope I can make it real soon, now that I've kind of stopped making Summertime Saga videos. But hey, I'm really hoping for more development and more awesome plot development in the next episodes. So yeah, see you guys next time. Goodbye.